Hello everybody and welcome back to Hearts of Iron, where last episode we were driven off of Guadalcanal, and it was a little annoying, no doubt about that, but it should be okay. For now, I'm honestly willing to trade Guadalcanal for New Zealand. I think that's worthwhile, all things considered. So we're going to proceed here, and the real question at this point is... well, we've got 50,000 manpower here. Our mobilization is going to be over fairly soon. That's something we need to consider, because we're currently on extensive conscription. Now, we could move to service by requirement. That's something we only want to do if we feel like we absolutely need to do that. Oh, we have no national focus right now. Do we have a national focus that we want to go for? Like, do we have one? I think we've gotten all of them at this point. So in that case, we want to go down to possibly army training, but in reality, I think that we want to go to naval production here. There we go. So we're going to be back on naval production for the moment, and we'll want to eventually run some industrial land appropriation. We can't currently run any war propaganda, so that's a thing to consider. For the time being, I think we're just going to chill for a little bit here. Okay, these guys are up over here. We should definitely have some forces that are set to area defend everything over here. Like that. Cool. So we've got our 3 area defense armies for right now. We're not really focusing for the moment on getting any... We're not really focusing for the moment on getting any offensive actions online. That'll take a little bit before we're ready to do any additional offensive actions. In the meantime, the US may decide to take some of this back, and that would be great for us if they managed to do that. We'd be absolutely delighted if the US were to do that. Fuel refining 5 finishes up. That means that we're pretty good on our fuel for the time being, and we can probably back off on our fuel trade deal. We also have too much steel for the moment, so we'll back off a little bit on that, and let's back off at least to here on our oil importing. Let's see how that goes. We have a research slot available here, and we're currently going down rubber processing. That's fine. We can grab ourselves atomic research. That'll do for now. Getting our hands on that will be eventually useful. The 15th Armored Division is, for now, going to head into this army. We definitely need a lot more defensive troops here. And we need to think about what kind of troops we want in our defensive armies and how many we really feel like we need. But we are going to send a few here and there for the time being. So we can see we're full on fuel for right now. So let's go ahead and back off on our importing of oil from the US. And for the moment, we're good on fuel. Cool. We're still too high on steel, so we'll back off there. Fantastic. And there's some base war support coming through. Always nice. And we're now gaining 563 monthly growth. That's a whole lot better than it was. We're not quite fully mobilized, but we're getting there. Our Marines will be done soon. So the Marines plus potentially amphibious tanks, although we're probably just going to use regular armored divisions in all honesty. Our Marines plus some armored divisions will be capable of getting us, hopefully, onto some of these islands. That would be nice. Okay. For the time being, we're waiting for our Marines. That's for sure. I want these to finish up. And we have a free military factory, which is slightly surprising. Where do we want to put this? We need a lot of carrier fighter 3s for reinforcement. We are positive on those currently. But it feels like we could definitely use a little bit more in our carrier fighters. There we go. Cool. So there's that underway. And we're also at 369 air experience. Can we upgrade our firebrands here? Because we currently have the firebrand Mark 1. How much does it cost to max this out? 480. But we can definitely take it down to level 4 across the board. So we'll go ahead and do that with the firebrand Mark 2. Now the Firefly Mark 2 is already there. We're already maxed out on that one. So that's fine. And how much do we need to max out the Firefly Mark II, or rather the Firebrand Mark II? The total amount of experience that we'll need for that is 180. Okay. We're gaining a decent amount. So that's all well and good. So we've got troops defending these areas. And that seems reasonably fine for the moment. The German Netherlands have capitulated again, and there's another ace pilot promoted. So a lot of good war support coming in here. That does mean we could potentially do some industrial integration. Potentially. I'm not sure we want to spend that right now, though. So our New Zealand defense is, I think, reasonable. Well, our defense across the board is reasonable. It won't stand up to a hugely determined attack, but I'm assuming that the Japanese are still focusing on the Germans over here. I don't technically know that. Let's take a look at how they're doing on their manpower. They're at 4 million. Okay. Good to know. And they don't have any damaged factories. Interesting. Well, we've got some reasonable manpower for the time being. And we are working on maintaining some naval superiority over here. But when is our Marines going to finish up? Hang on. I think they just did. That looked a little weird, but yes, they just finished. Cool. So we're going to move those in here. And I'm also going to pull 3 armored divisions from this. Then we're going to give this guy a commander, and not sure if he's good at anything, but it's fine. We'll do something like that. And then these guys, their mission is going to be to try to retake this again. So they're going to go from here to here. And we're going to try to not overextend this time. So they're going to prepare for that. And that'll be fine. We, of course, want to back off on this because this is actually grabbing the manpower, but we can't train these for the moment. So we want to completely cancel that production and get all that manpower freed back up. Cool. How are we doing on our resources here? We're negative on our rubber. That's to be expected. Once we finish up our rubber processing here, we're going to be positive on our rubber, so I'm not concerned about that for the moment. Okay. So New Zealand over here, the resistance is dropping, and the compliance is growing, so that's good. Rubber processing has finished up, so we're going to grab improved rubber processing. That'll put us at -1, I think. It's still -2. Okay. We must be exporting that. That's fine. We just got another 10k manpower. We're still mobilizing up. Right. Because of our Australian Women's Army service. We can go to like 5.5%. So we're still going to be mobilizing up for another 0.3%. It's not going to be a lot, but it'll be fine. So we're arriving over here. And we're going to try to push them out of Guadalcanal as soon as we can. We'll see how that ends up going. Let's check in on our Navy situation here. They still don't have any naval priority down here. Like, they've completely moved out of this area navally. Okay. So, we can grab MP3. There we go. Fantastic. Now our garrisons can listen to music. Perfect. And the compliance strength here will eventually work its way up. Cool. We're going to be done mobilizing very soon here. In just a couple more days. But we do have a good amount of manpower for the time being. So that's great. We'll proceed here. And when are these guys going to be done preparing? Here in just 6 days. No big deal there. Our Advanced Special Forces training is going to be done soon. 7 days there. We might want to wait for this to finish before we launch the... Never mind. The US invaded this for us. So we're just going to go there. We don't have to launch an invasion. We can just go. Beautiful. So we can set up a front line over here. I'm going to put all of our units on this front line, and then we'll offensive line just past the Guadalcanal. Okay. We have another chance here, thanks to the Americans. We were going to do this ourselves, but they've moved up our timetable. Beautiful. So Advanced Special Forces training has finished up. And now we're going to grab our... Let's see here. We wanted the Extreme Environment training. There we go. And I did want to work on maxing out this shipyard if it's not already. Yeah, let's get that work done. I want more supply flow through here. Cool. Now, our Marines are not necessarily the absolute best at dealing with this. But let's get in here. If we can push them out of this naval base instantly, then this is pretty over. Unfortunately, the Americans aren't joining us on this. Okay. I'd hoped that they would, but they did not. So we're going to need to bring up our supplies a little bit here. That'll be fine. And we'll start to attack this as soon as our organization gets high enough. There's a lot more US troops up over here this time. So that should be reasonably okay. We're just going to continue working on this. I'm just watching the way that this battle is playing out. It's broadly speaking going better than I expected. They actually retreated one of their units. And the US is over here. It's over. Guadalcanal is ours. Beautiful. Okay, so this infantry division here is going to head out over here. Guadalcanal is retaken at this point. The Japanese have absolutely nothing here. This will stack wipe. And the Americans got us this back. Beautiful. So there we go. Guadalcanal is back under our control, primarily thanks to the Americans, but we definitely helped. And these guys are defending this area as well. So at this point, we need to be thinking about a naval invasion from here to here. So let's get started on that. And we're just going to start taking back a bunch of these locations. Let's see, this is owned by the Japanese shogunate. But the US has occupied a lot of these islands. The US is definitely doing work out here. And that's good. We want this. The Community of the Philippines. They're communist, and they're in the North American Association. That's interesting. Okay. Well, the US is definitely doing a lot against Japan right now. Japan is still mobilizing up, I think. 5 to 6 million available manpower right now. Okay. Interesting. Well, they're going to be losing a lot, as they lose all of these little islands out here. And our mission, of course, is to take back this area over here. And we want this stuff too, ideally. If the US happens to take it, that's fine. We mostly want it out of Japanese hands. We can also throw another... We can throw another military factory at something. Maybe our trucks. We only have one working on trucks for right now. That might not be the worst idea. Cool. So honestly, getting this is no longer our top priority. We're going to move that down to around here. Fantastic. We're going to continue working on liberating some of these islands, and we can see that the US is just doing a lot of work over here. So this is great. The US basically timed their attack with us entering the war. I'm not sure if that was serendipitous or if the US decided to go after them because we joined the war. I'm not sure which. Surely it's not the latter. We're not that powerful, right? So surely that's not a thing. But we can hop into our production here, and we can now modify our Firebrand Mark IIs to be Firebrand Mark IIIs. We now have the experience for that. So that's beautiful. We're now making max-level carrier naval bombers, as outside of jets, that is. So that's great. We're going to be ready to launch this invasion soon. We don't know how many Japanese troops are on this island, but with our Marines and tanks and our naval support, we should be able to finish this off, in theory. Now, I believe we're currently fully mobilized, so we're not going to get any more mobilization manpower for the time being. But we're definitely going to launch this as soon as we can, here in another 9 days. Once we have this sea zone liberated, we're probably going to leave this stuff to the Americans, and we're going to start going out over this way. Is, I think, going to be the plan. So we'll see what happens here. It is nice to have this territory back, of course. And we're at -3 for rubber right now, which is kind of funny. But our rubber will be finishing up here in 35 days, so that's okay. Our preparation here is nearly complete. It will be done now. Off we go. Now, we're not naval invasion supporting here, and we maybe should. Now, that's our destroyers. I actually want these guys to remain on patrol, and I want this task force to be the one to naval invasion support. Okay. So over we come. We're going to launch our invasion here. There's nowhere for them to retreat to. We're not going to have an issue like we did in Guadalcanal. Wait, did they just straight up leave? I think they left before we arrived. We also finished up our 30th Infantry Division, and we're just going to send them into one of our defense armies. Or are they trying to bring in reinforcements? Well, we just stack wiped them almost instantly there and took it over. Beautiful. So that naval invasion was hugely successful. We're going to plan another one, and that's going to be invading from here to here. Cool. So that'll take another 28 days to prepare. And there's the amphibious tank chassis finishing up. Not that I think we're actually going to get amphibious tanks, but we can grab the amphibious drive, I suppose, just in case we decide to. We are doing a lot of amphibious operations here, to be sure. But the Americans are doing a lot of work out over this way, and I love to see it. Japan is having issues right now, I think. 6 to 7 million on their manpower. They're still holding out here in Bombay. But their war effort is grinding to a halt, and that's not good for them. And they're taking pretty substantial losses in the Pacific. I think the U.S. fleet has really done a number on the Japanese fleet at this point. What do they have navally? Whoa. Last time I checked was like 4 or 5 episodes ago. They had like 700 ships. Now they have 13? The U.S. must have gotten some really decisive naval battles. That's all I have to say about that. Wow. Okay. That definitely wasn't us. We haven't fought in any naval battles, right? So I'm guessing that's the reason why the U.S. suddenly showed up. The U.S. got a series of decisive naval battles, probably off over this way. And now the U.S. basically has free reign over the Pacific. Which means that we largely do too. Our naval fleet is currently stronger than the Japanese naval fleet. The U.S. has landed on Japan. So Japan definitely has bigger concerns. That's for sure. We're going to continue taking back our region, though. We are, after all, the Pacific Protection Pact. And our goal is to protect the Pacific. We're not really going to do anything else. So we're going to take back these islands over here. We're going to go after some of this stuff up over this way, if it still exists by the time we get there. But just taking back New Zealand, I think, is pretty great. The U.S. largely did the work in taking back Guadalcanal, but that's fine. Coast artillery, huh? Nice. Battery L. Okay, so the U.S. got pushed out of Japan. I'm not surprised about that. It's going to take them a lot of effort to actually land on the Japanese home islands. That's going to be huge. And how much... Okay, 347 ships. So the U.S. has also taken some pretty hefty naval damage, but the Japanese absolutely took more. And the U.S. is up to a ridiculous amount of manpower, 17 to 24 million. That is absurd. Looks like the U.S. is fully online, and Japan is kind of screwed at this point. They just maybe don't know it yet. So we can launch this very soon. We'll tell it to launch as soon as it can. And we're going to grab ourselves our next technology here, which will, of course, be advanced rubber processing. We have too much steel at the moment, and we're going to back off on our steel. There we go. Wait, what? The Japanese shogunate just capitulated to the German Empire. What? I didn't think they were anywhere near that dire. Oh my. Huh. Does that mean that we're now at war against the Central Powers? No, we're still at war against these other members of the Pact of Rome. That's going to be a big boon for the Central Powers, for sure. Who are not at war with the United States? Is that true? Or did I just miss that flag in there? German Yugoslavia. German war on United States. Okay. So they are at war. I thought so. That has a big effect on the landscape. So we're going to come over here and land. And we'll see how many Japanese troops there are there. There just were some. But they backed out again? I guess they don't want to fight our landing forces. Well, we'll just take all of this. We can't make our way down over this way, can we? No. So we have to naval invade here, I believe. As well as down here. Okay. So we're going to launch a naval invasion from here to here. I really didn't think Japan was in this dire of a situation, that they would capitulate to the Germans. I know that the US landed on their home island, but they were repulsed, and I thought that Japan would fight it out a lot longer. Interesting. Very interesting indeed. So we're going to continue taking back these areas. And I mean, really, we may want to consider splitting this in half, moving them over here, and preparing a second naval invasion to here. If these are undefended, then we can just grab them like this for free, right? And that'll now take half as long to prepare. So that seems pretty free to me. We'll go ahead and do that for the moment. Well, I thought that this was going to be a much longer grind. I mean, to be fair, the German Empire is going to be a big grind. There's no doubt about that. Japanese shogunate still exists. They just conceded the home islands to Germany for some reason. So my question then is, how's Germany's manpower looking? Not so great. Germany is very overextended. So that's all very interesting. Well, we might have to make our goal, instead of being to, like, deal with Japan, we might have to make our goal be liberating that most well-known of South Pacific nations, Poland, who, after all, ended up joining the Central Powers instead of staying with us. I don't know. I'll have to think about that. It is time to put a cut in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that, and next episode, we'll see what ends up happening. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including Casserole, Sigma162, JJ Gamer, Kentwin, Spartan News, Nick Smarty, Video Games Are Not Real, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, Kadra, Raw Potato, Elmichi Nazi, Justin Everett, Emiliano Cambron, Martin Lawrence, Jens Graham, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.